Hello there, and welcome back to Restful Realities. Tonight, we journey to a place where fire meets water, where ancient traditions dance with modern life, and where the earth itself breathes renewal with every passing moment. We're traveling to Hawaii, an archipelago born from the deepest forces of our planet, shaped by time and patience into one of the most captivating places on Earth. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below and share your location with our community. And if you find yourself drifting into sleep as we explore these islands together, that's perfectly fine. Let the words wash over you like gentle waves on a Hawaiian shore. If you enjoy this journey, please consider subscribing to Restful Realities and leaving a like. It helps others discover these peaceful explorations, and your support means the world to us. Now, settle in. Let your breathing slow, and join me as we discover the quiet wonders of Hawaii. Right now, as you listen to these words, the big island of Hawaii is being created. Deep beneath the island's surface, magma rises through channels of solid rock, finding its way to the summit of Kilauea volcano. Since December 23, 2024, Kilauea has been erupting in a pattern scientists call episodic. The volcano awakens. Fountains of molten rock spray hundreds of feet into the air, and then it pauses, gathering strength for the next episode. It's a rhythm as old as the islands themselves. The most recent episode, number 40 in this current sequence, began on January 12, 2026. Lava fountains reached heights that defied easy comprehension, spraying liquid rock into the Hawaiian sky while observers watch from safe viewing areas in Hawaii. Volcanoes National Park. The eruption lasted for hours before the volcano entered another period of rest. Scientists at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory monitor every tremor, every shift in the ground, predicting when the next episode might begin. Their forecasts, based on careful measurements of ground inflation and seismic activity, suggest intervals of days to weeks between each fountaining event. This volcanic activity draws visitors from around the world. But Hawaii in 2026 is changing how it welcomes these guests. On January 1st, the state implemented what locals call the green fee, an increase in the transient accommodations tax from 9.25% to 10% for hotels and vacation rentals. The additional revenue, estimated at $100 million annually, will fund environmental protection and climate resilience projects across the islands. Money will restore eroding beaches, including the famous sands of Waikiki. It will support native forest restoration, strengthen infrastructure against extreme weather, and help Hawaii adapt to a warming climate. The implementation wasn't without controversy. The fee was meant to extend to cruise ship passengers as well, an 11% tax on the gross fares for days spent in Hawaiian ports. However, a federal appeals court blocked this portion of the law on New Year's Eve, just hours before it was set to take effect. The Cruise Lines International Association challenged the fee, arguing it violated constitutional provisions about port taxation. While that legal battle continues, the hotel and rental portions of the green fee move forward. Governor Josh Green has long advocated for this approach, arguing that Hawaii's 10 million annual visitors should contribute to preserving the environment they come to experience. The philosophy is simple. If visitors help maintain Hawaii's natural beauty, they ensure those beaches, forests, and coastal areas remain pristine for future generations. Higher taxes might reduce overall visitor numbers, but those who come will be more invested in Hawaii's environmental well-being. This shift toward sustainable tourism reflects broader changes across Hawaii in 2026. Visitor arrivals have softened unevenly across the islands, creating pockets of availability where none existed before. Restaurants that once required reservations months in advance suddenly have openings. Hotels that were perpetually booked now offer last-minute deals. The tourism industry is adjusting to a new reality. one where quality of experience matters more than quantity of visitors. Meanwhile, at Kilauea summit, the volcano continues its patient work. Each eruption adds new layers to the island, building Hawaii grain by grain, fountain by fountain. The process has continued for hundreds of thousands of years. It will continue long after we've all gone to sleep tonight. To understand Hawaii, you must first understand what lies beneath it. More than 2,000 miles from the nearest continent, the Hawaiian Islands rise from the floor of the Pacific Ocean, impossibly isolated, impossibly volcanic. They exist because of a geological phenomenon called a hot spot, a place where the Earth's mantle generates such intense heat that it melts through the crust above it, creating volcanoes. The Hawaiian hotspot has been active for at least 70 million years. Deep within the Earth, near the boundary between the outer core and the mantle, an area of anomalously high temperature creates a thermal plume. This isn't liquid rock rising like water in a pipe. It's solid mantle material, heated to temperatures that make it slightly less dense than its surroundings. That difference in density causes it to rise, slowly, inexorably, over millions of years. Think of a lava lamp, those curious decorative devices where warm wax rises through colored liquid. The principle is similar, though the scale is vastly different. This plume doesn't move. It stays anchored to the same spot deep in the Earth's mantle. But the Pacific Plate, the massive section of Earth's crust that Hawaii sits upon, does move. It drifts northwest at a rate of about 4 inches per year, roughly 10 centimeters. That might seem insignificant, but over millions of years, it adds up. The plate moves. The hot spot stays still. And every time the plume melts through the crust above it, a new volcano is born. The Big Island of Hawaii, the youngest and southeasternmost island in the chain, currently sits directly above the hot spot. This is why Kilauea and Mauna Loa remain active. Magma continues to rise beneath them, feeding their eruptions, building the island larger with each flow. The Big Island is less than 500,000 years old, a newborn in geological terms. But Hawaii is just the beginning of a much longer story. Look northwest from the Big Island, and you'll find progressively older islands. Maui, with its dormant Haleakala volcano, formed between 750,000 and 1.3 million years ago. Oahu, home to Honolulu and Diamond Head, is roughly 3 to 4 million years old. Kauai, the oldest of the main Hawaiian islands, dates back about 5 million years. Its dramatic cliffs and deep canyons, like Waimea Canyon, testify to millions of years of erosion, sculpting volcanic rock. The chain continues far beyond the main islands. To the northwest, smaller islands, atolls, and seamounts stretch for 1,500 miles. All the way to Kure Atoll. These are the remnants of ancient volcanoes, islands that formed over the hot spot and then moved away as the Pacific Plate carried them northwest. Time and erosion wore them down. Many now sit just above or below the ocean's surface. The chain extends even farther underwater, curving north as the Emperor Seamounts. The oldest of these, Meiji Seamount near the Aleutian Trench, is 65 million years old. This entire chain, from the Big Island to Meiji Seamount, represents the path the Pacific Plate has traveled over the Hawaiian hot spot. It's a timeline written in volcanic rock, a record of movement and fire stretching across thousands of miles of ocean floor. Each volcano in the chain tells the same story: birth over the hot spot, growth through countless eruptions, then slow death as the plate carries it away from its source of magma. The volcano goes dormant. Erosion begins its patient work. Eventually, the island sinks beneath the waves, becoming a seamount, and the cycle begins again with a new volcano growing over the hot spot. Right now, that new volcano is already forming. Loi'i Seamount rises from the ocean floor about 20 miles southeast of the Big Island. It sits 3,000 feet below the surface, actively erupting, slowly building toward the day it will break through the waves and become Hawaii's next island. That won't happen in our lifetimes or our children's lifetimes, or perhaps even our great-grandchildren's. But someday, tens of thousands of years from now, Lohi will emerge and Hawaii will have a new island. The birth of a Hawaiian island is a process measured in stages, each one building upon the last. It begins in darkness, on the ocean floor, more than 15,000 feet beneath the surface. Magma erupts from the seafloor, instantly chilled by the cold Pacific water. The lava solidifies into dense rock, slowly accumulating. This deep submarine stage can last hundreds of thousands of years as the volcano builds its foundation down at this depth. The lava is alkalic basalt, relatively rich in sodium and potassium, formed from magma at the edges of the thermal plume. The eruptions are explosive. Water trapped in the lava flash boils, shattering the rock into fragments. These fragments, called hyaloclastite, accumulate alongside solid lava flows, building a broad base for the volcano dot. As the volcano grows taller, it enters the shallow submarine stage. Here, closer to the ocean surface, water pressure decreases. Eruptions become less violent. The lava chemistry begins to change. By the time the volcano breaches the surface, the magma rising through it has shifted to tholeiitic basalt, containing fewer alkali elements and more silicates. This is the lava that will build most of the island. The subaerial shield building stage is when a Hawaiian volcano does most of its work. Above water now, the volcano erupts frequently, sometimes continuously. The lava is remarkably fluid. It flows easily across the landscape, spreading wide and thin rather than piling up into steep slopes. This creates the classic shield volcano shape that gives these volcanoes their name. Broad, gentle slopes that rise gradually from sea level to the summit. From a distance, these volcanoes look almost like overturned shields lying on the ground. Mauna Kea, the tallest volcano on the Big Island, exemplifies this shield shape perfectly. From its base on the ocean floor to its summit, Mauna Kea stands over 33,000 feet tall. Measured from base to peak, it exceeds Mount Everest by more than 3,000 feet, making it the tallest mountain on Earth. Above sea level, the summit reaches 13,800 feet, high enough that winter snow blankets the peak even in tropical latitudes. The summit hosts astronomical observatories, taking advantage of the clear, dry air at that elevation. During the shield building stage, which typically lasts 500,000 to 1 million years, the volcano erupts from a shallow magma reservoir located a few miles beneath its summit. Rift zones extend from this reservoir down the volcano's flanks, channeling lava to lower elevations. These rifts create long, linear formations of cinder cones and lava flows extending from the summit to the coast. High-volume eruptions that rapidly empty the magma reservoir can cause the summit to collapse, forming a caldera. This is a large, steep-walled crater at the volcano's peak. Both Mauna Loa and Kilauea have summit calderas, circular depressions several miles across where the volcano's summit once stood before it fell inward. Eventually, as the Pacific Plate carries the volcano away from the hot spot, the magma supply dwindles. The volcano enters what geologists call the post-shield stage. Eruptions become less frequent. The lava chemistry shifts again, returning to alkalic compositions. These late-stage eruptions often build smaller cinder cones on the volcano's flanks, or fill in the summit caldera with thick, viscous flows. Then the volcano goes dormant. No more magma rises from below. The mountain enters its erosional stage, and nature begins to tear down what the volcano built. Rain falls, carving valleys into the mountain's flanks. Streams develop, cutting deeper with each storm. The trade winds, blowing persistently from the northeast, bring moisture-laden air that condenses into rain on the windward slopes. Some areas receive more than 400 inches of rain per year, while the leeward sides remain dry, creating dramatic contrasts in vegetation and erosion patterns. On Kauai, 5 million years of erosion has created stunning landscapes. The Na Pali coast, with its fluted cliffs rising thousands of feet from the ocean, showcases what time and water can do to volcanic rock. Waimea Canyon, often called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific, cuts 3,000 feet deep and 10 miles long through the western side of the island. These features didn't exist when Kauai was young. They're the work of millions of years of patient erosion, water and wind slowly reshaping the island. Long before Captain James Cook arrived in 1778, Hawaii was home to a thriving civilization. The arrival date of the first Polynesians has been a subject of scholarly debate for over a century. While earlier theories suggested settlement as early as 300 CE, more recent radiocarbon dating using advanced techniques indicates that the first Polynesians likely reached these islands sometime between the years 1000 and 1200, with current evidence pointing toward the mid-13th century as the most probable period of initial settlement. They came from islands thousands of miles to the south, from the Marquesas and Society Islands, navigating by stars, ocean swells, and the behavior of birds. Based on linguistic and archaeological evidence, researchers believe these voyagers brought with them voyaging canoes, double-hulled vessels capable of carrying families, livestock, plants, and supplies across vast stretches of open ocean. These weren't accidental discoveries. Polynesian navigation was a sophisticated science passed down through generations of expert navigators. Wayfinders memorized the rising and setting points of stars, learned to read ocean swells created by distant islands, understood that certain seabirds flew to land at dusk. They carried in their minds mental maps of the Pacific, knowing where islands lay, even when those islands remained below the horizon. The journey to Hawaii required sailing thousands of miles against prevailing winds and currents. It required skill, courage, and deep knowledge of the ocean. When these early settlers reached Hawaii, they found islands unlike anything in their previous experience. Tall mountains, some capped with snow despite the tropical latitude. Dense forests. Active volcanoes. No other people, but abundant resources. They adapted. They brought taro, breadfruit, coconuts, bananas, sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and dogs, pigs, and chickens. They developed sophisticated agricultural systems. The Ahupua'a, a land division system that ran from mountain peaks to the ocean, ensured that each community had access to all the resources they needed. Forests in the uplands provided timber and birds. Streams offered fresh water and aquatic life. The coastal zones gave fish and salt. This system encouraged sustainable use of resources because overexploiting any zone would harm the community. Hawaiian society developed a complex class structure. Ali'i, the chiefs, controlled the land and commanded great authority. Kahuna, the priests and expert craftspeople, held specialized knowledge of navigation, medicine, astronomy, and religious ritual. Maka'inana, the commoners, farmed the land and fished the seas, providing the labor that sustained the society. At the bottom were Kau, a small group with very limited rights. The Hawaiian religion was polytheistic and animistic, recognizing spirits in all aspects of the natural world. 4 major gods held particular importance. Kun, the god of creation and fresh water. Kanaloa, the god of the ocean. Ke, the god of war and male pursuits. Lono, the god of peace, rain, and fertility. Beyond these, 400 lesser gods and goddesses influenced daily life. Pio, the volcano goddess, remained one of the most prominent and feared deities. When volcanoes erupted, Hawaiians understood this as Pile's presence. the earth being reborn through her creative and destructive power. The concept of aloha, so central to Hawaiian identity, has roots far deeper than tourism marketing suggests. Aloha derives from alo, meaning presence or face, and ha, meaning breath. Together, they convey being in the presence of and sharing the essence of life itself. Aloha wasn't just a greeting. It represented an entire philosophy of living with compassion, respect, and harmony toward others and the natural world. This philosophy extended to Malama Gina, caring for the land. Hawaiians understood themselves not as separate from nature, but as part of it, related to all living things through shared ancestry. The Kumi Lipo, the Hawaiian creation chant, describes the universe emerging from darkness, with all things, including humans, born from the same cosmic process. This genealogical connection established a family responsibility to care for the land as one would care for a relative. When missionaries arrived in the early 1800s, they brought Christianity and a very different worldview. Many traditional practices came under pressure. The kapu system, a complex set of religious laws and taboos that governed Hawaiian society, was abolished in 1819 by King Kamehameha II and Queen Ka'ahumanu. This happened before significant missionary influence, but the missionaries capitalized on the vacuum left by the old religion's collapse. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, many Hawaiian cultural practices faced significant pressures. In 1896, the Hawaiian language was prohibited in schools. Hula faced discouragement from missionary influences. Traditional navigation knowledge declined as Western technologies and practices became more prevalent. The population, devastated by diseases brought by foreign contact, plummeted from an estimated range historians suggest may have been between 200,000 to as many as 800,000 before contact, to fewer than 40,000 by the late 19th century. But culture is resilient. In the 1970s, a Hawaiian Renaissance began. Native Hawaiians, led by activists and cultural practitioners, worked to revive traditional practices, language, and knowledge. The Polynesian Voyaging Society built Hokū-e, a double-hulled voyaging canoe like those that brought the first Polynesians to Hawaii. Master navigator Mo Piailug from Micronesia taught a new generation of Hawaiian wayfinders how to navigate using traditional methods. Hokūli has since sailed over 100,000 miles across the Pacific, proving that ancient navigation techniques were sophisticated enough to discover and settle distant islands. Long before Captain James Cook arrived in 1778, Hawaii was home to a thriving civilization. The arrival date of the first Polynesians has been a subject of scholarly debate for over a century. While earlier theories suggested settlement as early as 300 CE, more recent radiocarbon dating using advanced techniques indicates that the first Polynesians likely reached these islands sometime between the years 1000 and 1200, with current evidence pointing toward the mid-13th century as the most probable period of initial settlement. They came from islands thousands of miles to the south, from the Marquesas and Society Islands, navigating by stars, ocean swells, and the behavior of birds. Based on linguistic and archaeological evidence, researchers believe these voyagers brought with them voyaging canoes, double-hulled vessels capable of carrying families, livestock, plants, and supplies across vast stretches of open ocean. These weren't accidental discoveries. Polynesian navigation was a sophisticated science, passed down through generations of expert navigators. Wayfinders memorized the rising and setting points of stars, learned to read ocean swells created by distant islands, understood that certain seabirds flew to land at dusk. They carried in their minds mental maps of the Pacific, knowing where islands lay, even when those islands remained below the horizon. The journey to Hawaii required sailing thousands of miles against prevailing winds and currents. It required skill, courage, and deep knowledge of the ocean. When these early settlers reached Hawaii, they found islands unlike anything in their previous experience. Tall mountains, some capped with snow despite the tropical latitude. Dense forests. Active volcanoes. No other people, but abundant resources. They adapted. They brought taro, red fruit, coconuts, bananas, sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and dogs, pigs, and chickens. They developed sophisticated agricultural systems. The Ahupua'a, a land division system that ran from mountain peaks to the ocean, ensured that each community had access to all the resources they needed. Forests in the uplands provided timber and birds. Streams offered fresh water and aquatic life. The coastal zones gave fish and salt. This system encouraged sustainable use of resources, because overexploiting any zone would harm the community that depended on it. Hawaiian society developed a complex class structure. Ali'i, the chiefs, controlled the land and commanded great authority. Kahuna, the priests and expert craftspeople, held specialized knowledge of navigation, medicine, astronomy, and religious ritual. Makayanana, the commoners, farmed the land and fished the seas, providing the labor that sustained the society. At the bottom were Kau, a small group with very limited rights. The Hawaiian religion was polytheistic and animistic, recognizing spirits in all aspects of the natural world. 4 major gods held particular importance. Kain, the god of creation and fresh water. Kanaloa, the god of the ocean. Ke, the god of war and male pursuits. Lono, the god of peace, rain, and fertility. Beyond these, 400 lesser gods and goddesses influenced daily life. Pele, the volcano goddess, remained one of the most prominent and feared deities. When volcanoes erupted, Hawaiians understood this as Pele's presence, the earth being reborn through her creative and destructive power, the concept of aloha. So central to Hawaiian identity, has roots far deeper than tourism marketing suggests. Aloha derives from alo, meaning presence or face, and ha, meaning breath. Together, they convey being in the presence of and sharing the essence of life itself. Aloha wasn't just a greeting. It represented an entire philosophy of living with compassion, respect, and harmony toward others and the natural world. This philosophy extended to Malama Gina, caring for the land. Hawaiians understood themselves not as separate from nature, but as part of it, related to all living things through shared ancestry. The Kumalipo, the Hawaiian creation chant, describes the universe emerging from darkness, with all things, including humans, born from the same cosmic process. This genealogical connection established a family responsibility to care for the land, as one would care for a relative. When missionaries arrived in the early 1800s, they brought Christianity and a very different worldview. Many traditional practices came under pressure. The kapu system, a complex set of religious laws and taboos that governed Hawaiian society, was abolished in 1819 by King Kamehameha II and Queen Ka'ahumanu. This happened before significant missionary influence. But the missionaries capitalized on the vacuum left by the old religion's collapse. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, many Hawaiian cultural practices faced significant pressures. In 1896, the Hawaiian language was prohibited in schools. Hula faced discouragement from missionary influences. Traditional navigation knowledge declined as Western technologies and practices became more prevalent. The population, devastated by diseases brought by foreign contact, plummeted from an estimated range historians suggest may have been between 200,000 to as many as 800,000 before contact to fewer than 40,000 by the late 19th century. But culture is resilient. In the 1970s, a Hawaiian Renaissance began. Native Hawaiians, led by activists and cultural practitioners, worked to revive traditional practices, language, and knowledge. The Polynesian Voyaging Society built Hokule, a double-hulled voyaging canoe like those that brought the first Polynesians to Hawaii. Master navigator Mo Pialig from Micronesia taught a new generation of Hawaiian wayfinders how to navigate using traditional methods. Hokule has since sailed over 100,000 miles across the Pacific, proving that ancient navigation techniques were sophisticated enough to discover and settle distant islands. Listen to the Hawaiian language, and you hear something unusual. No harsh consonants. No complex consonant clusters. Every syllable ends in a vowel, creating a flowing, musical quality. This simplicity is deceptive. Within its structure lies tremendous depth and flexibility. The Hawaiian alphabet contains just 12 letters. 5 vowels, A, E, I, O. U. 7 consonants, H, K, L, M, N, P. W. 2 additional marks modify pronunciation, the okina. A glottal stop represented by a single quotation mark, and the kahag. A macron or horizontal line over a vowel that indicates the vowel should be stressed and held. Slightly longer dot, these marks aren't decorative. They change meaning. Consider the word ola. Without any marks, it means life or health. Jila, with a kahak, means to save or heal. A lilo, with both an okina and kahak, means language or speech. Small changes in pronunciation, carefully indicated by these marks, create distinct words with different meanings. Hawaiian belongs to the Polynesian language family, which includes Maori, Samoan, Tongan, Tahitian, and many other languages spoken across the Pacific. These languages share common roots, descended from a Proto-Polynesian language spoken thousands of years ago. A Hawaiian speaker and a Maori speaker from New Zealand, though they couldn't fully understand each other, would recognize similarities. Basic words like numbers and family terms show clear connections. The Hawaiian language almost disappeared. By the mid-20th century, fewer than 2,000 native speakers remained, mostly elderly. Children learned English in school and at home. Hawaiian seemed destined to become a dead language, preserved only in written texts and academic studies. The Hawaiian Renaissance changed that trajectory. Language activists argued that Hawaiian culture couldn't survive without the Hawaiian language. They established Hawaiian language immersion schools, Panana Leo, where children learned exclusively in Hawaiian, from preschool through high school. The University of Hawaii developed Hawaiian language programs. Hawaiian became an official state language alongside English in 1978. These efforts worked. Today, approximately 24,000 people speak Hawaiian with varying degrees of fluency. It's still endangered, but no longer dying. Children grow up speaking it. New vocabulary develops to accommodate modern concepts. Hawaiians coined words for computer, loluila, a device for thinking, internet, kumupa'a network, and cell phone, kelepona lima, hand telephone. Hawaiian remains integrated into daily life across the islands. Words pepper everyday conversation among all residents, not just native Hawaiians. Keiki means children. Mahalo means thank you. Ohana means family. Moia and Makai, toward the mountains and toward the ocean, replace north, south, east, west in giving directions on islands where the mountains are always visible. These words aren't translations. They carry cultural concepts that don't exist in quite the same way in English. Place names throughout Hawaii reflect the language's descriptive power. Honolulu means sheltered harbor. Wait translates to spouting water, referring to freshwater streams that once flowed through what's now the tourist district. Haleakaloha, the massive volcano on Maui, means house of the sun. Legend says the demigod Medu-ai climbed this mountain and lassoed the sun. forcing it to move more slowly across the sky so his mother's tapa cloth could dry. Hawaiian poetry and chant, collectively called meal, used the language's musical qualities. Ancient Hawaiians had no written language, so history, genealogy, and cultural knowledge passed orally through chants. The Kumulipo, the creation chant mentioned earlier, contains over 2,000 lines describing the emergence of the universe, the birth of the gods, and the genealogy of the royal family. Chanters memorized these texts exactly, passing them to their students, who would pass them to the next generation. The arrival of written Hawaiian in the 19th century, developed by missionaries, creating a writing system to translate the Bible, allowed these oral traditions to be recorded. Hula is perhaps Hawaii's most recognized cultural expression, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. The tourist version, with grass skirts and coconut brass, bears little resemblance to traditional hula. Real hula is a sophisticated art form, a way of preserving and transmitting Hawaiian history, mythology, and values through movement, chant, and music. Two main forms of hula exist. Hula kahiko. Ancient hula predates European contact. Dancers move to chants and traditional instruments like the pahu sharkskin drum and aipiu gourd drum. The movements are deliberate, grounded, with bent knees and swaying hips that reflect the rolling of ocean waves or the swaying of trees. Hand gestures tell stories. A wave of the hand might represent the ocean. Fingers pointing to the eyes indicate seeing or watching. Every movement carries meaning. Hula Awana, modern hula, developed after Western contact. It incorporates influences from European and American music, using guitars, ukuleles, and standing bass. The movements are often softer, more flowing. The distinction between kahiko and awana isn't about better or worse. Both are authentic expressions of Hawaiian culture at different points in history. Halau Hula, hula schools, train new generations under the guidance of Kumu Hula master teachers. Students don't just learn steps. They learn the language, the chants, the cultural context. They understand that hula isn't entertainment. It's a responsibility, a way of connecting to ancestors and preserving knowledge that might otherwise be lost. The Merry Monarch Festival, held annually in Hilo on the Big Island, showcases hula at its highest level. Named after King David Kalakaua, who in the late 19th century encouraged the revival of hula after missionary suppression. The festival features competitions where halau from across Hawaii and beyond perform both kahiko and awana. Winning Merry Monarch is one of the highest honors in hula. Lei, garlands of flowers, leaves, shells, or other materials, carry deep cultural significance beyond their decorative appeal. Ancient Polynesians wore lei to signify rank. Alai, the chiefs, wore lei made from rare bird feathers. Commoners wore lei of flowers and leaves. Lei were offered to gods at temples. They were given to honor someone, to show affection, to welcome or bid farewell. Making lei is an art requiring patience and skill. 8 main styles exist. Haku involves braiding plant material like leaves or soft bark, incorporating flowers and decorative elements. Kui, the most common style, threads flowers or other materials onto string or fiber. Wili wraps materials around a core. Each style requires different techniques and produces different aesthetic effects. Lei etiquette matters. You don't wear a closed lei if you're pregnant. You shouldn't refuse a lei when offered, as it represents the giver's aloha. When you're finished wearing a lei, you don't throw it away casually. You return it to nature, draping it on a tree or leaving it somewhere respectful, allowing the materials to decompose and return to the earth. The concept of Aumkiua, family or personal gods, represents another deeply rooted tradition. Aumkiua might take the form of animals like sharks, turtles, or owls. They might be natural phenomena like rain or wind. Families had relationships with their Aumkua, praying to them, sometimes feeding them. In return, Aumkua protected the family, warning of danger through dreams or omens. While not as widely practiced today as in ancient times, some families maintain these traditions, recognizing their Aumkua and honoring the connection. The Hawaiian Islands contain some of the most diverse microclimates on Earth. Drive 20 miles in almost any direction, and you might pass through tropical rainforest, dry shrubland, temperate grassland, and even alpine tundra. This diversity results from Hawaii's complex topography and its position in the path of the northeast trade winds. Mount Waialeale on Kauai holds the distinction of being one of the wettest spots on Earth. Summit receives an average of 450 inches of rain per year, though some years exceed 600 inches. That's more than 50 feet of rainfall annually. The mountain's peak sits at 5,000 feet elevation, directly in the path of moisture-laden trade winds. As these winds climb the mountain slopes, the air cools, causing water vapor to condense into clouds and rain. This process, called orographic precipitation, dumps enormous amounts of water on windward mountain slopes throughout Hawaii, just a few miles away from Mount Waialeale. On the leeward side of Kauai, annual rainfall drops to less than 20 inches per year. The same mountains that wring moisture from incoming trade winds create a rain shadow on the opposite side. The winds, having released their moisture, descend the leeward slopes, warming and drying as they sink. The result is dramatically different landscapes, separated by short distances. This pattern repeats on every major Hawaiian island. The windward coasts, facing northeast, are lush and green. Waterfalls cascade down verdant cliffs. Streams flow year-round. Tropical vegetation thrives. The leeward coasts are dry, almost desert-like in some areas. Sparse vegetation, cacti and drought-adapted shrubs, brown landscapes punctuated by green only where irrigation systems provide water. The Big Island showcases this diversity most dramatically. On the windward Hilo side, annual rainfall exceeds 130 inches. The city is surrounded by rainforest. Orchids grow wild. On the leeward Kona side, rainfall averages just 10 inches per year. The landscape is dominated by black lava rock, dry grasses, and introduced fountain grass that turns golden brown in the sun. Between these extremes, elevation creates additional climate zones. Mauna Kea's summit, at nearly 14,000 feet, experiences winter snow and freezing temperatures. The summit is so cold and dry that astronomers built major observatories there, taking advantage of the clear, stable air and minimal light pollution. Below the summit, between about 6,000 and 9,000 feet, lies a belt of temperate forest that once supported unique ecosystems, but now consists largely of introduced species. Lower still, tropical vegetation dominates the wet eastern slopes, while dry forest and grassland cover the western side. These microclimates support remarkable biodiversity. Hawaii has more endemic species found nowhere else on Earth, than anywhere in the United States. This happened because Hawaii's extreme isolation allowed evolution to proceed in unusual directions. Species that reached Hawaii, either by flying, floating on debris, or being carried by birds, found ecological niches with little competition. They adapted and diversified, creating entirely new lineages of plants and animals. However, this biodiversity is fragile. Hawaii has earned the unfortunate nickname Extinction Capital of the World. Since human arrival, first Polynesian and then Western, Hawaii has lost more species than anywhere else in the United States. Forest birds, in particular, have suffered devastation. Of the dozens of honey creeper species, birds found only in Hawaii that evolved from a single finch ancestor, more than half are now extinct. The remainder are critically endangered. Before humans arrived in Hawaii, only 4 types of mammals lived on the islands. The Hawaiian hoary bat, a small insectivore that somehow flew or was blown across thousands of miles of ocean. The Hawaiian monk seal, one of the rarest marine mammals on Earth, which swims between the islands and the atolls to the northwest. 2 species of whales that visit Hawaiian waters, but don't truly live there year-round. That's it. No land mammals, no rodents, no predators of any kind. This absence of predators allowed Hawaiian birds to evolve in remarkable ways. Many species lost the ability to fly, since flight requires significant energy and offers little advantage on islands with no ground-dwelling predators. The Hawaiian goose, or nen, Hawaii's state bird, evolved from a Canada goose ancestor that arrived perhaps 500,000 years ago. Over time, nen adapted to life on lava flows, developing partially webbed feet for walking on rough volcanic rock rather than swimming. They nested on the ground unafraid, since nothing hunted them. Hawaiian honeycreepers represent one of evolution's most spectacular examples of adaptive radiation. These birds all descended from a single finch species that reached Hawaii millions of years ago. In the absence of other seed-eating birds, that ancestral finch population diversified into over 50 species, each adapted to different food sources and habitats. Some developed long, curved beaks for sipping nectar from flowers. Others evolved thick, crushing beaks for cracking seeds. Some had parrot-like beaks for eating fruit. A few developed particularly unusual adaptations, like the Akapo'o, which has a straight lower mandible for pecking wood and a curved upper mandible for extracting insects. This diversity is largely gone. Polynesian settlement brought the first wave of extinctions. Humans hunted ground-nesting birds, cleared forests for agriculture, and introduced rats, pigs, and chickens. Western contact brought more devastation. Cattle, goats, and sheep destroyed native vegetation. Mongooses, introduced to control rats in sugar cane fields, instead preyed on native birds. Cats, both feral and domestic, killed countless birds unaccustomed to feline predators. But the worst threat came in the form of diseases. Avian malaria and avian pox, carried by mosquitoes, accidentally introduced in 1826 aboard a ship from Mexico, devastated native bird populations. Hawaiian birds had no immunity. These diseases don't kill introduced birds or birds from other continents. But Hawaiian honeycreepers die within days of infection. The diseases forced surviving native birds higher into the mountains, where cold temperatures prevent mosquitoes from breeding. But as climate change warms these high-elevation forests, mosquitoes are moving upward. The last refuges for these birds are shrinking. Conservation efforts continue. Organizations like the American Bird Conservancy and the state of Hawaii work to protect remaining habitat, control invasive species, and breed endangered birds in captivity. In some cases, conservationists have established mosquito-free zones using barriers and intensive management. These efforts have saved some species from immediate extinction, but the long-term challenge remains enormous. Hawaii's marine environment tells a somewhat brighter story. Humpback whales migrate to Hawaiian waters every winter to breed and give birth. These enormous animals, weighing up to 40 tons, travel from Alaska to Hawaii, a journey of over 3,000 miles. They arrive in November and stay through March, concentrating in the shallow, warm waters between Maui, Lanai, and Molokai. Males sing complex songs that travel for miles through the water, possibly to attract females or establish territory. Mothers nurse their calves in the protected channels, teaching them to swim and breathe before the long journey north to feeding grounds in Alaska. Hawaiian spinner dolphins, smaller cousins of bottlenose dolphins, live year-round in Hawaiian waters. During the day, they rest in shallow bays, often spinning and leaping for reasons scientists don't fully understand. At night, They hunt in deep water, using echolocation to find fish and squid. Watching spinners from shore has become a popular activity, though regulations now restrict swimming with them to prevent disturbance. Green sea turtles, or honu, nest on Hawaiian beaches. Once hunted nearly to extinction, they've recovered under protection and now commonly bask on beaches, especially on the Big Island. Hawaiian monk seals, numbering fewer than 1,500 individuals, remain critically endangered. They haul out on beaches to rest, and beachgoers are asked to keep their distance, as disturbance can cause mothers to abandon pups. And there, in that complexity, in that tension between preservation and progress, between honoring the past and building the future, we find the modern reality of Hawaii. The islands continue their slow journey northwest, carried by tectonic forces beyond human control. The hotspot remains patient, eternal, ready to build the next island when the time comes. The trade winds blow, bringing rain to windward slopes and leaving leeward coasts dry. Native birds cling to survival in mountain forests. Humpback whales return each winter. Hula schools train new dancers. The Hawaiian language finds new speakers. Hawaii endures. It adapts. It changes while remaining somehow essentially itself. Born from fire millions of years ago, shaped by wind and water, settled by remarkable voyagers, transformed by contact with the wider world, Hawaii remains a place unlike any other. The earth breathes beneath these islands, alive, active, creating new land, even now as you drift toward sleep. If you enjoyed this journey through Hawaii, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Restful Realities. Share it with anyone who might appreciate a peaceful exploration of these remarkable islands. And remember to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Thank you for spending this time with me. May your dreams tonight be as peaceful as a Hawaiian sunset, as gentle as waves on a warm shore. Sleep well.